What is going on, you guys? It is Justin back here with some more Saw 11 news. And it seems like we keep getting more and more every day, which I'm completely fine with. I'm a big fan of the Saw franchise, and I'm very excited about this news that we have today. So without further ado, I'm going to shut up, and we're going to go right into this. So the three main subjects we'll be focusing on today is Saw X will be a direct follow-up. Saw 11 will be a direct follow-up to Saw X, continuing the successful storyline set up in its predecessor. Directed Kevin Gruthart's return bodes well for Saw 11, as he knows firsthand what made Saw X successful and can replicate it. And by focusing on a quality story instead of the convoluted twist, Gruthart can keep the franchise moving in a positive direction. So, obviously, we all want the Saw franchise to keep moving in a positive direction. Well, I want to see more in Saw 11, and this is just me, just because he's probably the creepiest part of the movie. I want to see more Billy. We got to see Billy like one time last time, and that was when, I think his name was Hector, had to do the brain surgery, and Billy brought that stuff out for him. That's really all we got to see for him. But I would like them to bring back like the TVs and everything and have Billy up on them and talking on them, which I'm sure they will. The last one was based in Mexico, so John couldn't really move all of his stuff back, but you know. It says one specific detail about the upcoming sequel in the Saw franchise, Saw 11, is encouraging in regard to whether or not the latest entry can live up to the high-quality benchmark set by its predecessor. Saw X, the 2023 installment, acted as a both direct sequel to the original Saw and a prequel to the later entries, and it saw the return of Tobin Bell's John Kramer and Shawnee Smith's Amanda Young in Saw X. Saw X notably achieved a high benchmark for quality as it achieved the highest Rotten Tomato scores of all 10 movies, which is pretty cool for the Saw franchise. Me personally, I thought Saw X was one of the best ones. It was different. They obviously went back to that old Saw vibe where they gave you the green thing, like the green filter for the movie and everything. The one thing I do hope they leave out, and the one thing I hope they don't go back to, which, yes, it was a nice twist, but the guy from Jigsaw, I feel like they just threw him in there. And they're like, okay, yeah, we're just going to throw this guy in there. We're not really going to say what we're going to do with him. We're going to say he was John's first apprentice, but we're just going to leave it like that. So I hope they don't bring up anything about him. Not that I didn't like that movie. The one thing I didn't like about that movie is how Billy looked. What the hell is wrong with his hair? But we're getting off subject. We're going to continue on with this. Some early story details are available for Saw 11, and it appears that the next chapter will be a direct follow-up to Saw X. It will see the return of John Kramer, Amanda Young, and the new character, Cecilia Peterson. Beside the next movie continuing the highly successful storyline laid out in Saw X, another detail about the film's production is encouraging when it comes to whether or not the sequel can match its predecessor's overall quality. Now, the one person I do hope we get to see in this movie, mostly because he was in the post-credit scene, is I want my guy Hoffman back in here. That would be an awesome guy to have back. Because Hoffman is really what made the Saw franchise. He was the cop that you didn't expect to be Jigsaw's apprentice, but then you come to find out that he was, and he was, in reality, the last one that really continued on John Kramer's legacy until you found out in Saw 3D, or as more people know it, Saw 7, that it was really Dr. Lawrence Gordon that was John Kramer's final apprentice. So yeah, very interesting. I really hope they do bring back Hoffman, but yeah. That is Cecilia Peterson. She will be returning, as it said, and it'll be very interesting to see what they do with her. Veteran horror director Kevin Gruthart, now forgive me if I butcher his name, will return to direct Saw 11 after leading the highly successful Saw X. Gruthart has built a career in horror acting as an editor, executive producer, or director for various entries in several noteworthy horror franchises, including The Strangers, Leatherface, and several other chapters in the Saw franchise. Gruttert directed the critical failures. Failures? Oh, I don't think they're failures. Saw, I believe that's 6 in Saw 3D, when the franchise's ongoing plot was at its most convoluted before finding success with the simplified and story-driven Saw X. Now, as you guys know, Saw 3D is probably one of my favorite Saw movies. That had a big twist in it. Now, I'm all for the twist, and I love that dun-dun-dun, 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 dun-dun-dun. I'm pretty sure you guys are feeling secondhand embarrassment from me there. But that was one of the best Saw movies I've seen, with Hoffman getting in and killing Jill, tricking everybody. I thought that movie was great. But, I mean, yeah, obviously they had other ideas. But, let's continue. Gruttert's return to the director's chair bodes well for Saw 11, especially given that the sequel is set to continue the story that Gruttert began in Saw X. Gruttert's knowledge of the franchise's lore, and particularly his deference for the character and story of Jigsaw, shone through in Saw X. Maintaining the same leadership from the sequel to sequel should yield consistency in the narrative. While Gruttert is sure to progress the story, he knows firsthand what made Saw X successful and should be able to replicate it, at least to some degree. Saw X is expected to release in theaters on September 27, 2024, less than a year after Saw X's release date. Beginning with the original, the Saw franchise's bread and butter has always been twist endings and character reveals. This series has played fast and loose with the timeline, resurrecting some characters and retconning other elements, leading to a confusing central narrative that sacrificed quality storytelling for shock value. At times, it was even confusing who the audience was intended to be rooting for. And one of Saw X's biggest changes was making John Kramer the definitive hero of the story, which I do agree. I've had people that dealt with cancer in my life, and I hated seeing them go through it. And in this movie, you really kind of felt with John, because obviously we know from the previous movies that he is dealing with cancer, and finding out that you paid so much money for cancer and you thought that you got it out, oh yes, I'm going to live, I got this tumor removed, let's go, and come to find out they stole your money and they basically left you to die, I'd be pissed too. Now, I wouldn't go as far as John killing everybody, but I would be pissed. And I completely understand why he did what he did. But it was a really good story, and I really hope they continue on with that. So my guess is that John and Amanda will probably be back in America in this one. I'm not completely sure, but somehow Cecilia finds them one way or another. Now, this is how Kevin Gruttert can help Saw 11 avoid past sequels' mistakes. Focusing on a quality story instead of convoluted twists can keep the franchise moving in a positive direction. Now, the one person that I really hope is in this movie, which I just said a couple minutes ago, but I think it would be cool if we got to see Hoffman again. We got to see more of his relationship with John. Now, obviously, we explored that in Saw 5, I believe, and we kind of got to see, like, the brother-sister relationship with Amanda and Hoffman, but I really hope that that is explored more in this movie. Making the next entry a continuation of Saw X is the best possible decision, as it continues what made its predecessor a hit. By stripping the story down in Saw X and focusing on Kramer, Gruttert created the consistency that the previous entries in the franchise were missing. Gruttert will need to focus on maintaining that consistency in Saw 11 if he is to have any chance of holding on to that necessary rejuvenation that Saw X brought to the franchise. Now, I totally agree with that. I think the focus should be on John, because obviously John is the main character of these movies. He's the guy that puts him in the trap. He tells him, live, die, this is your choice. That was a horrible Jigsaw impression. But, yeah, I am very excited about Saw 11. Very excited. Me and my brother, I got my brother into the Saw movies, which is pretty cool. He loves Saw and he loves The Evil Dead. But yeah, very interesting. Cannot wait to see what they're going to do with Saw 11. Now, with them saying it's going to be a September release, I'm very happy about that. Kind of wish it was more towards Halloween, but I'm not going to argue about it. It's a Saw movie. I could really care less. I want to see it when I see it. It is going to be, I'm just hoping that's good. And I'm hoping that it has Hoffman, Amanda, John, and tells a bigger story, because it'll be very interesting to see what they do with this. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments below about this. Are you guys excited for Saw 11? Are you excited for the return of the Saw franchise? And rumor has it that the trailer is going to be dropping in July. So yeah, as always, you guys, stay groovy, stay safe, and keep your people safe. And remember, God is good all the time. It has been Justin, and I'm out. Peace.